Hey BookTube, welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and guess what? It is finally autumn. I think so. I think officially it's autumn, as of either that or yesterday. I don't know when the on the calendar when autumn officially starts. But anyway, I thought I would go ahead and do the It's Finally Fall book tag. Okay, so you guys know the drill. I answer a series of questions, and all the answers are books. And then I think I might tag some people this time. And if they actually respond, then maybe I'll try to get more into the habit of doing it. It's just like the two times that I've done it, people haven't responded. But in all fairness, that might have been because I'm still kind of a relatively small channel. And if you guys are interested, feel free to consider yourself tagged and go ahead and do this tag as well. Okay, so first question, and damn it, I'm so not prepared. I always think I'm prepared, and then I realize, oh wait, I'm not prepared. Let's get another aspect that I'm not prepared. Okay, I'm trying to. I have the questions here, so. Okay, there it goes. Okay. Question number 1 is, in the fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. And I picked a book that I just finished after having started in 2018, but it's a 500 plus page book, and no matter what they look like, it still will take me forever if it's a 500 plus page book. Sometimes if it's a 400 plus page book, then it will take me forever. But, and that is The Shining by Stephen King. So instead of a haunted house, it is a haunted hotel in the middle of nowhere, very isolated. Basically, this family, this has become the caretakers of the Overlook Hotel in Colorado. And our main character, Jack or John Torrance, I don't know what his name is, because in this book and in the Stanley Kubrick movie, his name is Jack Torrance, but then when Daniel Green compared the adaptations, he also mentioned that something along the lines of originally that maybe that the name was actually John Torrance. And there are a couple pages in this book, in this edition, where it's John Torrance instead of Jack Torrance, but like a couple, only like literally a couple, but enough to make me think that maybe it was John Torrance, and they just missed a couple in the editing in the creation of this edition. But anyway, Jack unfortunately is an alcoholic. He's trying to get sober. He has hit his little 6-year-old son once, so his wife doesn't 100% trust him. And he's got fired from his job as a teacher at the local, I think, high school. And he's trying to get something written. So his friend gets him the job as the caretaker of the hotel. And his son, Danny, is what they say is called a shining. And he has the shining, which means he can see things, he knows things. He's kind of a psychic. And basically what Stephen King does best is not just creating characters that you have strong feelings about, whether it's negative feelings or positive feelings, but he also knows how to build up suspense and slowly create this creepy, disturbing atmosphere. This it's a slow build up to the point, and just little hints here and there to the creepiness, but it's subtle. It's nothing big. It's it's just. And I remember Daniel Green in his video, he did talk about how the movie is by Stanley Kubrick is a good horror film, but it's not a good adaptation because the director and Stephen King had different visions of this basic story, and his is more a psychological trip, while the movie, I guess, is more of now I haven't seen it, so don't take my word for it. I'm just going by what Daniel Green said in his video. While it was more of a typical haunted hotel story. But that psychological trip is why, in that slow building of atmosphere and characters, is why Stephen King's books are so long and so chunky, or his full-length novels, and he just knows how to really creep you out and have this chill come over your spine with his creating this atmosphere that's just unnerving and just but subtle. It's not, like I said, it's not big. It's not like big grand gestures with the horror. It's just small little things, but enough to creep you out. Okay, nature. Question number 2. Nature is beautiful, but dying. Name a book that is beautifully written, but deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm reading The Great Gatsby first by Fitzgerald, but so far I've not found a Fitzgerald book other than The Great Gatsby that I just absolutely love. I mean, I do like the short stories of his that I've read so far. I really love those. But as far as his novels go, granted, I've only read 3 so far. Now, as of today, officially as of right now, I've read 3 of his novels other than The Great Gatsby. And maybe that's not a fair comparison, but anyway. So I ended up not loving this, but it still was interesting and dealt with and applies to the question. This particular book deals with a married couple where the wife suffered a mental breakdown and how the husband deals with it after the fact and how he tries to hide it and tries to be a good husband, but at the same time he's not, that good. And so it deals with mental health, especially for women, and how they dealt with it in the 1920s and or possibly the 30s, and just how this husband is trying to recapture the fun in their life, the life with him and that him and his wife had before she suffered her mental breakdown, and how hard it is for both people to deal with. And now it takes a very special person to be able to deal with someone who has mental health issues, especially when they cannot control it. They cannot help that they have these issues. Just like people that have depression can't help it. They cannot control it, And unless you understand it and can empathize, then it's not easy. And like I said, that's what this deals with. And I think it was kind of also inspired by Fitzgerald's own wife, Zelda. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think I read that it was. Okay, so next is fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. Okay, so I didn't read a lot of nonfiction this year, but I never do. I'm slowly getting more into it. I'm so slowly trying to get more into it, but I definitely think it takes certain kinds of nonfictions for me to read it. Like, I like memoirs, and I definitely it needs to be a topic that I'm passionate about, that I'm really into, or an actor that I really, really like. I still have not finished reading The John Adams by David McCullough. I don't know if it's the writing style, or I don't know if maybe it's to do with just I'm not as huge of a fan of John Adams yet. I'm interested in him as our second president, but at the same time, I'm not always. But I think it's more, it might just be the writing style or the fact that it's a whole biography. And I'm so used to, adaptations that kind of, movies and musicals and stuff like that. But anyway, so I ended up picking one that I don't have a physical copy because I listened to it on the Libby app, and that is Stephen King's On Writing, Memoirs of the Craft. And it's basically him talking about writing and what inspired his writing, and he does talk about the technical aspects of becoming an author, but he also talks about how personal a journey it is, and how and just the stuff you need to know to become a good writer, become a good author, but at the same time, he's not forceful about it. He's also is it's up to you, but this is what you need to do. And he also shares all these hilarious stories of experiences that kind of inspired his writing, how he basically, one of my favorites is how when he was a kid and him and his brother went hiking and he accidentally used poison when he had to go in the bathroom outside, just in the middle of the woods because he really had to go and they were hiking, so there was no bathroom nearby. So he accidentally cleaned himself up with poison ivy, which I found that hilarious, especially as someone who's allergic to poison ivy. And breaks out really bad. Definitely, Mr. King had my sympathies. And also, like, how, I don't know if it was his guidance counselor or one of his teachers I told him, why do you write this garbage? And now he's a famous author, and, maybe not everybody loves his writing, but he's a best-selling author. You can buy his books at the airport, at grocery stores, or even at an independent or chain bookstore. So and there are miniseries and major motion pictures based on his book, like it was adapted twice now. And, the sequel to The Shining was adapted. So it's like, yeah, you may have thought it was garbage back then, but guess what? He is the most well-published author. And I gotta say, I wonder if he kind of rubbed it in his teacher's face, in the guidance counselor teacher's face. Like, now it kind of makes me think of, because I've been watching Boy Meets World because it's on Disney Plus, and I was just watching the episode where Mr. Feeney presented them a challenge to predict their futures, and of course Corey wants to be a baseball player when he's 11, and he goes through all the trouble of creating baseball cards and putting his face on a cereal box and all that stuff. And he approaches Mr. Feeney and is like, Mr. Feeney questions it and is like, do you have any investments? What's your future? Like all the stuff that, to prepare, all the stuff that is important, that isn't the fun stuff, but the necessary stuff. And now it's just talking about that experience, that little antidote that Stephen King shared made me kind of think of that episode that I just, But anyway, so yeah, it was so interesting. And sometimes it's easier to hear from someone like Stephen King about what you need to, what you need to do to become a good author than hearing from some, random stranger or a close friend or family member. Like for me personally, it's a little because then again, of course you're going to listen to your favorite author more than, your parents or, or even your best friend sometimes. But anyway, although my best friends they don't ever, But yeah, that's the only nonfiction, because the other one I'm already using for another answer, the other nonfiction book that I absolutely. But anyway, okay, question number 4 is, in order to keep warm, it's a good time to spend some time with the people we love. Name a fictional family, household, friend group that you'd like to be a part of. And I said, this friend group. I don't know what they would call themselves, but the friend group in Lunar Chronicles, which consists of Cinder, Scarlet, Wolf, Prince Kai, or Emperor Kai, which is Cress, Wolf, Carzal Thorn, and Aiko? I think that's all of them. This is basically a sci-fi retelling of a group of fairy tales. And of course there's, a main story, and this friend group is so, sassy and snarky and fun, but they're really smart, and they're just, they're a great team. And I picked these 2 books. This is the 3rd and the 4th one, because, this is, I think, when they all when they're all together, mostly. They're not not all together in the 1st and the 2nd book, but in the 3rd and the 4th book, they really, which makes sense, because this is the 3rd and then the last one. But they look like such a fun group of friends, and they'd be great and I think it'd be fun to hang out with them at a party or during Thanksgiving. And I could see some of them having a lot of fun with, with Halloween and dressing up for Halloween and having a Halloween party. And I think some of them would be really shy and begrudgingly dress up. And some of them would just have a blast and really go overboard with the dressing up part. Like, Aiko and Thorn would have such a good time at a Halloween party, while the others would be kind of forced to do it. Now, Cress would probably do it just because, because the other two would do it, but they would kind of have to push the other three to do it, I think, but to dress up and stuff. But they're so fun to hang out with, and they're also a really smart group of people in different ways. Okay, next is question number 5. The colorful leaves are piling on the ground. Show us a pile of fall-colored spines, and this is going to be a bit of a process, but I'm going to try to do it. Ah, damn it. I'm determined to show all these up there. I went a little overboard, but because it was kind of hard, I was having a hard time picking, because the way my books are set up currently, because I have them set up where the spines are in and the pages are out, for, so I can color my reveal when I'm finished. Oh no, you don't. No. Dang it, this is so not gonna work. No, dang it, it's not. Okay, it's not gonna. I wanted to do this. I'm determined to do this since I got all these out. So, books are always so slippery, apparently. Okay, these last two, I'm not gonna be able to show these last two because they keep. But, here, so you got there you go. You see it? Okay, I'm done. My arm's hurting. Let me just try this again. Okay. Alright. And just for the record, I also want to include these two as well, because I felt like I didn't get enough yellow. So that one, these two, but they're hardbacks. Okay, so maybe I would love to use that for my thumbnail, but I don't know if it will show up as a thumbnail. Okay, so question number 6. Fall's the perfect time for storytelling by the fireside. Share a book where somebody is telling a story. And, technically, although thinking about this now, technically it's not entirely that, but it's not entirely 100% correct answer, but perfect answer, but I'm going to say anyway because I already said it. And that is The Starry Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is a story about stories. A story within a story. So it's totally Inception. But this is basically, I had just read this. It's Erin Morgenstern's sophomore novel. And it's basically, you have our main character, Zachary Ezra Rollins. And I remember his whole name because she keeps starting each section that's focused on him with reciting his whole name. Although towards the end it started to refer to him as the fortune teller's son. But Zachary is a gamer, and he's also a bookworm, and he's in college, and he discovers while in the library studying a book called the Sweet Sorrows that has some of his history and it has him in it. So he becomes curious and decides to investigate, especially when it turns out that it doesn't have a barcode when he offers to find out who published the book. And he decides to figure it out and discovers a very intriguing underground secret society library. And it's all about, and he keeps hearing about the infamous Starless Sea. And he is determined to find the Starless Sea, and also to understand why he is in the book Sweet Sorrows, and who was able to write about him. and with a little help from this handsome man named Dorian. Who also has a book, and the mysterious pink-haired Maribel. And what's really cool about this book is it has also, like, why it's a story within a story is not just because of Zachary's story, but also there's these little fairy tales sprinkled throughout that are found in the book Sweet Sorrows, and also the book that Dorian finds as well. And this book is so whimsical and intriguing. It feels like a fairy tale, but also reminds me of the Never-Ending Story and The Pagemaster. I don't know if you guys remember the movie with Macaulay Culkin and Christopher Lloyd, and I don't remember the voices of the different books. But it's basically this kid who gets locked in a library on accident, and these books come to life and take him into all their different types of stories, and he goes on all these adventures, and that's kind of what that reminds me of this, but it also reminds me of the Never-Ending Story, and just so it kind of fits the prompt, and it kind of doesn't. Okay, next question. Question number 7. The nights are getting darker. Share a dark and creepy read. Wait, let me just. And this one is kind of more fantasy than creepy, but there are creepy aspects about it, and that is Uprooted by Naomi Novak. And the creepy aspects are that it has a forest that this village is plagued by. This haunted, creepy forest that will swallow people up. And even if you are released from the forest, you are now part of the wood. You are controlled by the wood. You're not you. You're trapped in it. And that's what makes this creepy. The forest setting is just in the woods, and just when I was reading it, I could just picture, and it was just so eerie, and I could picture dead, complete silence, and just all these creepy gnarled trees, and just the feeling of being watched kind of feeling. So that's why I made this my answer, even though it technically is not a creepy book. It's just a fantasy, but fantasy can be very creepy. And you have the subgenre of supernatural fantasy anyway. So that was my Uprooted is my answer for that one. Okay, question number 8. And the days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that can warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. And this is the other nonfiction I'm talking about that I read this year. And that is Talking as Fast as I Can by Lauren Graham. This is basically about her career, her life. She talks a little bit about her life and her career as an actress and what she had to go through. And it's not anything like Anne of Green Gables or, Heidi or something. But I feel like it's still very heartwarming and gives you warm and fuzzies if you're a fan of Lauren Graham and her work and, Gilmore Girls and Parenthood. And it's charming and funny, and I could hear her I could hear her voice as I was reading this book. And yes, she talks about how hard it is in Hollywood, but she does it in a funny, charming way. And I feel like I said, if you are a fan, I think this will put a smile on your face. So that's why I picked that answer, even though, Okay, so next is question number 9. Fall. Luckily, it's my favorite season. Which, yeah, in this case, it actually is. Or it has kind of become my favorite season. I didn't realize how much I loved it until we moved here, and it felt like the summers were endless here. In other words, even though I still say I prefer sweltering heat over freezing cold, I still felt like, okay, when is it? It's autumn, and Halloween, Christmas are right, and Thanksgiving are right around the corner. When's it gonna be cold? So I felt last year. Returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. And I've already read. I would have said Jane Eyre, but I've already returned to Jane Eyre. Read it 3 times now, So, and I would probably like to return to it again. And I'm already thinking about returning to Uprooted as well. But I'm gonna say one that I'm going to return to, like I'm going to return to now that I haven't already read for another time that I've only read once. And that is, and although I guess it's not entirely a fair answer because I don't know if it would still be considered my favorite, but I remember really loving it the first time I read it. And that is The Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. And this is one of his books that's actually not set during the time period he's from. This is set in the 1700s, I believe, during the French Revolution. And it's the two cities are London and Paris. But I think there's more of a focus on London than Paris, I think. But I'm not 100%, like I said, it's been a while since I read it. I read it back in, probably 2014 or 15, probably, I think. I know either way it was before I moved, and I was still going to, see the College of Southern Maryland. But it's so, and, I just remember my one issue was the fact that I did have one issue that I remember, and I almost feel like that issue would have been resolved and benefited from a love triangle, which I know, blasphemous, because everybody hates love triangles. But in this case, I think it would have helped make the story more interesting, the romance part of it. I mean, there wasn't even really a romance. I mean, it's just like a guy had a crush on a girl. It was unrequited love, but she was like, there was no chance he was going to get with, there was no chance. I mean, although it sounds a lot like what people complain about love triangles, where people say that that love triangles are pointless because at the end of the day, you know who the main character is going to end up with. So maybe this is a lot more like modern love triangles of contemporary young adult fiction. But I feel like you can make a love triangle interesting if you don't know who she's going to choose. And I think it would have benefited from that because there was a bit of a love triangle, but at the end of the day, you could tell she was probably going to stay with the one guy. She was going to, that one guy was clearly the one she was going to marry. And, I almost would love to do, for a second I even thought about doing a retelling of Tale of Two Cities, but maybe a fantasy version of it. But, like, have her choose, but have it actually be a really good love triangle where our main character, you don't know who she's going to choose. At the end of the year, like, you really don't. And actually when I think about love triangles, I feel like Terry from Florida's reasoning is basically the same, is basically that too, except for the fact that the girl chooses the person that she does not like, that she wouldn't choose herself. It's her. But I was just thinking about that because I think I agree with those people that any trope can be. I mean, there's some, yes, there are at least a few. There are some tropes that, yeah, but you just could never. They wouldn't be like cheating. The cheating trope. It's like, I mean, it's a bit too much. But like a love triangle, like I said, could be done in an interesting way. But anyway, I'm choosing this because I'm going to reread it. I'm going to, for Victober, because it's actually one of Katie from Books and Things' recommendation for reading a book that is, a Victorian novel that was not about the Victorian era. But it was written in the Victorian period, but it's not about that time period. Or it's about, like, it's a genre when you're, or either that or it applies to the topic of pick a book, a Victorian novel that is from your favorite genre of modern genre. I don't know. I don't remember, but I know this was one of her recommendations for Victober. Okay. So question number 10. Fall is the perfect time for cozy reading. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories, and I don't have an answer for this. I mean, I've been wearing these a lot. like indoor, slippers or like. And I also like putting on socks. I if you I don't know if you can see it, but I really like sitting in that chair. Like I said, I don't really have an answer because it's not like I even use like. I mean, I'll put it if I'm chilly. I'll use a blanket, but I mean, it's not like But yeah, so I don't really have any specific things that I use when I'm reading or something because I end up forgetting to put on like socks to put on socks if my feet are chilly, and I'll get into a book and it's like I don't want to get up, and then I'll forget to grab a blanket or a robe or something. But so yeah, I don't really have. I mean, I think I gave an answer last year, which was like socks, but that was kind of like just I had to come up with something. I felt like I should come up with something. But anyway, yeah, I don't really have an answer for this one. I don't have a specific things that. But anyway, so question number 11 is spread the honor appreciation and tag some people. And like I said, I'm gonna tag some two booktubers that I really like. Like I said, I hope they will, I hope they watch this video and that they will, and they'll see that I tag them. But Jennifer Brooks from the channel Jennifer Brooks, she talks a lot about history. She's a really fun channel, especially if you like history. And then Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. I really like them. That is a husband and wife duo. They're really fun and funny, and they're from New Zealand, I think. New Zealand or Australia? No, I think New Zealand. I'm not 100%. And if I got that wrong, I apologize. If you guys watch this and I got it wrong, then. And I love seeing their doggy when he pops up. And they're really funny. And I hope they do. Although I don't know if this tag would apply to them or not, now that I think about it. Would apply to where they're from. And like I said, if they're New Zealand, then maybe would. I actually don't know. But I already put it out there, so if you guys are if this applies to you guys, then I would love for you to do it. And like I said, I know it applies to Jennifer Brooks because I believe she is also from North Carolina. So I am tagging you guys, and I hope you come across it and do it. And like as I said in the beginning of this video, if you are interested in this tag, feel free to consider yourself tagged and do it because it's a fun tag. Especially if it's autumn season for you. I don't know if there's I'm pretty sure there's probably a spring equivalent to this. So if you are in the other hemisphere, then there's probably a spring related tag somewhere. But anyway, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna shut up now, and I will talk to you all later. Bye.